Have you ever looked at your bank account and felt like you're trying to climb a mountain in flip-flops? You're definitely not alone in feeling this way. There's actually a real mathematical and psychological reason why saving your first $100,000 feels like mission impossible, while rich people seem to stack cash like it's nothing. What if I told you that once you cross that magical six-figure line, the next $100,000 becomes way easier to get? Sounds crazy, right? But stay with me because I'm about to show you why this happens, and even better, how you can use the secret to speed up your own journey to wealth. My name is John, and today we're going deep into one of the weirdest parts of personal finance. By the time we're done here, you'll know exactly why your money struggles won't last forever and how everything shifts once you hit certain checkpoints. Here's what we're covering. First, I'll show you the harsh math that makes saving money early on so brutal. Then we'll talk about the mental blocks that trap most people in financial quicksand. And finally, I'll give you real strategies you can start using right now to fast-track your way to that first $100,000. But before we dive in, let me describe something that might hit close to home. You've probably heard rich investors and business owners say stuff like, getting to your first 100,000 is the toughest part, or once you've got money, making more money is a breeze. These aren't just empty words from people trying to sound smart on the internet. There's actual science backing this up. Think of it like this. If building wealth was a video game, getting to your first $100,000 would be like playing on nightmare difficulty with a busted controller, while the next $100,000 would be like switching to easy mode with unlimited cheat codes. The entire game literally changes once your money situation improves. Now you might be thinking, John, that's cool and everything, but I'm barely hanging on to my first $1,000. Forget about 100,000. I get it. And that's exactly why understanding this is so important. Once you see why the system works like this, you can start making smart moves that go with the flow of wealth building instead of fighting against it. Let's start with the most obvious problem. When you're starting from nothing, every single dollar you save comes straight out of your own wallet. There's no money fairy dropping cash into your account while you're asleep. No compound interest grinding away to multiply your efforts. It's just you, your paycheck, and whatever willpower you can scrape together to spend less than you make. This is what I call the heavy lifting phase of building wealth. You're doing all the work yourself, one paycheck at a time. It's like trying to fill up a swimming pool with a garden hose while someone keeps unplugging the drain. Progress feels painfully slow because mathematically speaking, it really is slow. Think about this scenario. Let's say you managed to save $5,000 and invested in something earning 10% per year. After 12 months, you've made a whopping $500. Don't get me wrong, $500 is nice, but it's not exactly life-changing. You could probably make that much by picking up some extra shifts or selling old stuff on Facebook Marketplace. When your gains are measured in hundreds instead of thousands, it's tempting to think investing is pointless. This is where tons of people make the huge mistake of quitting too soon. They look at these tiny returns and decide that building wealth through investing is a complete waste of time. It's like judging how powerful a rocket is by watching it slowly inch forward on the launch pad before takeoff. But here's where things get really interesting. Fast forward to when that same person has saved up $100,000. Now that same 10% return generates $10,000. Boom. Suddenly your investments are making more than what many people earn at their actual jobs. The math has completely flipped in your favor. This is when building wealth stops feeling like torture and starts feeling like pure magic. Your money starts working harder than you do. While you're sleeping, eating, or watching Netflix, your investments are out there grinding to increase your net worth. It's like having an employee who never complains, never gets sick, and works 24/7 to make you richer. The mental shift this creates is absolutely massive. When you can actually see your investments producing real money, everything transforms. You get way more motivated to save because the rewards are visible and significant. You start hunting for ways to optimize your money strategy because the potential wins are huge. This creates what I call the snowball effect. The more money you have invested, the more fired up you get to invest even more. It's a positive cycle that compounds both in your bank account and in your head. Success creates more success, and wealthy people get this better than anyone. But let's talk about the obvious question. If this is all so simple, why isn't everyone rich? Why do so many people struggle to save even a little bit of money? The answer is understanding the roadblocks that stop most people from hitting that crucial first milestone. The biggest barrier isn't not knowing what to do or even not making enough money, though those definitely matter. The real villain is something way more sneaky: the psychology of waiting for rewards in a world that worships instant everything. We live in a time where you can get practically anything delivered in hours, where entertainment is instant, and where social media gives you immediate likes for your thoughts and pictures. In this world, the idea of giving up today's fun for tomorrow's financial security seems almost ridiculous. Why would you skip that expensive dinner when you can just swipe a credit card? Why would you drive an older but reliable car when you can finance something shiny and new? Why would you live in a basic apartment when you can stretch your budget for something more impressive? These little decisions might seem harmless, but over time they create what I call the lifestyle trap. Each choice alone might not matter much, but together they build a spending pattern that makes building wealth basically impossible. It's like trying to fill that pool while someone keeps making the holes in the bottom bigger and bigger. The sad part is most people don't even realize they're trapped until it's almost game over. They hit 40 or 50 years old, realize they've saved basically nothing for retirement, and completely panic. Suddenly they're trying to cram decades of wealth building into the few working years they have left. It's financial emergency mode at its worst. This is where understanding the math of wealth building becomes crucial. When you realize that your money decisions in your 20s and 30s have way more impact than the same decisions in your 40s and 50s, you start making different choices. Time becomes your biggest weapon and you start treating it with serious respect. The good news, it's never too late to turn things around, but the sooner you start, the smoother the ride becomes. This brings us to the practical question: how do you actually get from where you are now to that first $100,000? The answer isn't as complicated as the finance industry wants you to think, but it does need a complete shift in how you view money. Most people approach building wealth like they're trying to lose weight by doing 1,000 sit-ups once a year instead of just walking every day. They search for the magic trick, the perfect investment, the secret hack that will fix their finances overnight. But here's the hard truth: there is no shortcut. The road to that first $100,000 is built with boring, unsexy choices that add up over time. It's about consistently picking the less flashy option every single day, every single month, until those small sacrifices pile up into something real. Let me give you a reality check that might sting a bit. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, complaining about how impossible saving is while you're paying for 17 different streaming services, ordering takeout 4 nights a week, and financing a car that costs more than some people make in a year, then you're not really trying to build wealth. You're just hoping wealth magically falls into your lap. That's like saying you want to run a marathon while refusing to exercise. It's fantasy. And fantasy doesn't pay your bills or fund your future. Step 1 is being brutally honest with yourself. Track every single penny you spend for 1 month, not just the big stuff, but everything. That morning coffee, the random stuff you throw in your cart at the store, the apps you download and forget about, the convenience fees you pay because you couldn't be bothered to plan ahead. Most people are absolutely shocked when they see where their money actually goes versus where they think it goes. I had a buddy who kept insisting he couldn't afford to invest because he barely got by. Then he tracked his spending and found out he was dropping over $300 a month on food delivery alone. $300. That's $3,600 a year that could have been invested instead of turned into late-night regret and empty containers. Once you know where your money's going, you can start making smart cuts. Notice I said smart, not random. Cutting everything and living like you're broke isn't sustainable for most people. You'll burn out, rebel against your own plan, and end up worse off than before. It's the money version of crash dieting. Instead, figure out the spending that brings you real happiness and the spending that's just mindless routine. Keep the happiness, cut the routine. Maybe you absolutely love concerts and that's worth every cent to you. Awesome, keep going, but maybe you're also paying for a gym membership you haven't touched in 6 months and buying lunch every day because you can't be bothered to pack food. Those are easy targets. The goal isn't to live like you have nothing. It's to be purposeful with your money. Every dollar should have a job, whether that job is immediate joy, future security, or something in between. When you start seeing money as a limited resource that needs to be used strategically instead of spent randomly, everything shifts. But cutting costs is only half the battle. The other half is making more money. And this is where most people get stuck in poverty thinking. They assume their current job is their only income source and that their current salary is carved in stone. This might have been true 50 years ago, but we're living in the most opportunity-packed time in human history. You literally have access to the entire world's marketplace through the device you're probably watching this on right now. You can launch a business, freelance your skills, make content, buy and sell stuff, or offer services to anyone anywhere on the planet. The barriers to making extra money have never been lower. Now, I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. Building side income takes time, work, and staying power. But it's totally doable if you're willing to trade short-term comfort for long-term money freedom. The question is whether you care more about your Netflix time or your financial future. Here's something most financial advisors won't tell you because it doesn't involve selling you stuff. The fastest path to your first $100,000 isn't through fancy investment tricks or weird financial products. It's through maximizing the gap between what you make and what you spend, then investing the difference in boring, reliable stuff. I know, boring doesn't sell online courses or get viral clicks. Everyone wants to hear about the crypto that'll make them millionaires or the stock that'll double their money overnight. But the math is ruthlessly straightforward. If you can save and invest $2,000 per month in stuff that returns 8% annually, you'll hit your first $100,000 in less than 4 years. The challenge isn't the math, it's the self-control. $2,000 a month sounds massive when you're used to spending everything you earn, but break it down, that's about $67 a day. For a lot of people, that's less than they blow on coffee, lunch, and random purchases. It's not about making more. It's about keeping more of what you already make. This is where theory meets reality. You can watch every money video on the internet, read every book about getting rich, and go to every seminar about investing, but none of it counts if you don't actually change what you do. Knowledge without action is just expensive entertainment. The people who actually build wealth aren't always the smartest or the highest paid. They're the ones who keep making the boring, logical choice when everyone around them is making the exciting, stupid choice. They're the ones driving reliable used cars while their friends lease fancy vehicles. They're the ones living in normal homes while their peers max out their budgets for impressive addresses. This isn't about living a miserable life or never enjoying anything. It's about getting that every money decision is a choice between spending now and freedom later. Rich people understand this trade-off and make conscious calls about when to spend and when to save. Poor and middle-class people either don't get the trade-off or keep choosing instant pleasure over long-term payoff. But here's what happens once you actually hit that first $100,000. Suddenly everything changes completely. Your money starts working almost as hard as you do. Those boring, solid investments start generating returns that actually move the needle. The compound interest that seemed pointless when you had $5,000 invested becomes a serious force when you have $100,000 grinding for you. Even more important, you build what I call wealth momentum. You've proved to yourself that you can stack serious money, which gives you confidence to take bigger swings and chase bigger opportunities. You have a financial cushion that lets you be more strategic about career moves, more picky about projects you take on, and more ready to jump when good investments show up. This is when wealthy people start saying things like money makes money and the rich get richer. It's not some conspiracy or unfair advantage. It's just the mathematical reality of compound growth mixed with bigger opportunities that come with having cash to deploy. The second $100,000 doesn't just arrive faster because of compound interest, though that's definitely part of it. It comes faster because you've built better money habits, you're more motivated by seeing real progress, and you have more options for growing your wealth. You're not stuck just saving money from your job anymore. You can jump on opportunities that weren't available when you had limited cash. This is when you start getting why wealthy people seem to have access to deals that normal folks never hear about. It's not because there's some secret rich person email list they all subscribe to. It's because when you have substantial savings, you can actually capitalize on opportunities when they pop up. Your broke friend calls you up and says, "Hey, I found this incredible duplex selling way below market value, but I need to close in 2 weeks and put down 20%. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, that conversation ends with, "That's awesome, best of luck." When you have $100,000 saved, that conversation might end with you owning a property that generates cash every month. Or maybe your company offers stock options that need to be held for 5 years before selling. If you're barely surviving, you can't afford to lock up money for 5 years, no matter how amazing the opportunity looks. But when you have real savings, you can afford to take smart risks with longer timelines. This is what rich people mean when they talk about opportunity cost. Poor people think opportunity cost means choosing between food and rent. Rich people think opportunity cost means choosing between a guaranteed 8% return and a potentially amazing business investment. It's a totally different conversation. The mental transformation at this stage is just as critical as the mathematical one. Remember when $500 felt like serious money? Now your investments might swing by that much in a single day and you barely flinch. You've built what investors call risk tolerance, which is just fancy talk for being able to watch your account go up and down without freaking out and making dumb moves. This emotional control is huge because it lets you think long-term instead of reacting to short-term market chaos. When the stock market has a rough week and your portfolio drops $5,000, you don't lose sleep and think about selling everything. You get that this is just background noise in your overall wealth-building journey. Meanwhile, someone with $5,000 total invested might watch their account drop by $250 and completely lose it, convinced they're headed for disaster. They sell at the worst time, locking in losses and missing the bounce back. It's like getting scared and jumping off a roller coaster halfway through. But let's discuss something most money gurus conveniently skip over: the social pressure you'll deal with when you get serious about building wealth. Your friends and family, probably meaning well, will think you've gone crazy. They'll watch you order water instead of cocktails at dinner, drive your paid-off car instead of financing something newer, and pick a quiet night at home over expensive weekend getaways. They'll start throwing comments like, "You can't take it with you," or "You're missing out on living," or my personal favorite, "Money isn't everything." Here's the thing about people who say money isn't everything: they usually have none. It's easy to downplay money's importance when you've never experienced the freedom and peace that comes with having it. It's like someone who never learned to read telling you books don't matter. The truth is, money might not be everything, but not having money affects everything. It affects where you live, what you eat, how you use your time, the tension in your relationships, and the choices available to your kids. Acting like it doesn't is just willful ignorance wrapped up as wisdom. You'll need tough skin during this phase because the people closest to you might become your biggest roadblocks. They're not trying to sabotage you on purpose. They're just uncomfortable because you're changing the rules of the game you've all been playing together. Your discipline highlights their lack of discipline, and nobody enjoys that mirror being held up. This is where having crystal clear vision of your money goals becomes absolutely essential. When everyone around you thinks you're being extreme or missing out, you need to remember why you're making these sacrifices. Are you building wealth so you can retire young and see the world? So you can start a business without stressing about steady income? So you can give your kids better chances? So you never have to worry about money again? Whatever your reason, it needs to be powerful enough to carry you through the inevitable moments of doubt and social pressure. Because trust me, those moments are coming. There will be times when you're tempted to quit, to go back to spending everything, to live like everyone else. But here's what I want you to lock in during those weak moments. Every single person who successfully built real wealth has gone through exactly what you're going through right now. The struggle you're feeling isn't special to you. It's a required part of the journey. It's like the burn when you're working out. It's not fun, but it's proof that something good is happening. The difference between people who build wealth and people who don't isn't smarts, luck, or even how much they earn. It's being willing to handle temporary pain for lasting benefit. It's being able to delay pleasure when everyone around you is indulging right now. It's having the discipline to make boring, smart decisions over and over again. And here's the beautiful twist. Once you reach that first $100,000, the habits that got you there become so automatic that keeping them feels normal. You're not constantly battling the urge to overspend because you've rewired your brain to get satisfaction from watching your wealth grow instead of collecting stuff. The second $100,000 doesn't just come faster because of compound interest and better opportunities. It comes faster because you've transformed into a different person. Someone who thinks strategically about money instead of emotionally. Someone who makes choices based on long-term results instead of short-term urges. So if you're staring at a bank balance that's smaller than you want right now, remember this: your current money situation isn't permanent. The struggle you're feeling is temporary. Every successful investor, every wealthy entrepreneur, every financially free person started exactly where you are right now, with more dreams than dollars and more hope than proof. The only difference between them and people who never build wealth is they started. They took step 1, then step 2, then step 3. Even when progress felt impossibly slow, they understood that every journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. But more importantly, they understood you actually have to take that step. Your first $100,000 is out there waiting for you. It won't be easy, it won't be fast, and it definitely won't be thrilling every day, but it will be worth it. And once you arrive, you'll understand why everyone who's made the trip says the same thing. The first $100,000 is the hardest, but everything after gets progressively easier. The question isn't whether you can do it. The question is whether you will. The math is on your side, the opportunities exist, and the knowledge is right there for free. All that's missing is the choice to begin and the discipline to keep going. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make today. Don't let them down.